from the South Jefferson Street studio in Katanning, it's time for the Sports Zone here on AM 1380 WTYM and Family Light TV. And now your host, John Buffone.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Sports Zone here on AM 1380 WTYM and Family Life TV, brought to you in part by Walker Motor Company in downtown Katanning. GMC, we are professional grade. I am your host, John Buffone. We got a good one for you today. A lot of local stories going on. We're gonna have a running back from the West Shamokin football team. They open up their season with the WTYM Game of the Week this Friday against Springdale. They're hosting Springdale, perennial powerhouse in Single A. Also on the show, we're gonna have a West Shamokin golfer. Big West Shamokin show today. The golf team at West Shamokin getting a new golf coach. We're going to interview Anthony Rocco. Both of those guys are going to be in the studio. Hopefully they can get here. You know, practices in the fall season. They run till about 6:30 or so. So kind of at the mercy of their schedule. So whenever they get here, they get here. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's just kick it off with the headlines.
Headlines.
Okay. Headlines. WTYM Game of the Week. West Shamokin on a 44-game WPIAL losing streak. That is a record. Haven't won a game since, I believe, September of 2007. Heartbreaking. But they make the move down to Single A. They drop the co-op with Elderton, and now they're in a new conference, a new attitude, a new team, an improved team. I've seen them with my own eyes. They're doing much better. As far as Springdale goes, you know what you're getting. They have a new coach in Dave Leisure. He was on the staff at Apollo Ridge last year. He helped out at Fox Chapel, but he takes over for Chuck Wagner, who is a legend in the WPIAL. He retired at the age of 77 after last season. He amassed 270 wins after coaching at Riverview, Oakmont, Fox Chapel, and of course Springdale, where he spent the last 19 seasons. He's had 50 years of coaching, and now Coach Leisure is going to have to try to replace a legend at Springdale. So kind of a new era in Springdale football, but the potential there to slip up, maybe. But Springdale, it has a tradition. 10 consecutive playoff appearances, including a 2003 WPIAL championship, and they advanced to the WPIAL quarterfinals last year. But this is a team that lost all but 3 of its starters on offense, and I believe all but 4 of their starters on defense. So there's going to be an opportunity for the Wolves to maybe take advantage of some inexperience, if you will. But as far as Springdale goes, their big horse would probably be Sean Dugan. Last year he had 949 rushing yards and scored 23 touchdowns, and he's also a very good linebacker too, so a good two-way player for Springdale. But a lot of people are counting West Shamokin out of this game. They said the first WTYM Game of the Week, it's there, but you know, it's not really West Shamokin. You're thinking, oh, it's West Shamokin. Same old West Shamokin. Well, I have to think that it's not the same old West Shamokin. And I understand Springdale is a very good squad with a very good tradition, and they're going to come in prepared to take care of business. But I think this year, and I hinted on this a little bit last week when I was talking about the West Shamokin team, they are desperately trying to shed that losing attitude. 44 losses in a row. It's hard to get rid of that reputation. It's hard to get rid of that mindset. It's hard to say that this year is going to be different, even though, and especially in years past, it was hard to say that the year was going to be different because they were still in Double A. This year, there has the potential to be different, and they're going into this attitude. They're going into this season with a very solid running game. They have Zach Horner, who we're going to have on the show later. He amassed 721 rushing yards last year as a freshman with 3 touchdowns. They're losing Andrew Cibola, who was a big contributor in the run game as well. He had about 300 yards rushing last year, but the run game's solid. I saw the scrimmage against Red Bank Valley they had last week, and they ran the ball extremely well, almost at will. But a big thing for West Shamokin against Springdale is getting stops and not turning the ball over. So I also saw at their scrimmage that they turned the ball over a couple times. I think their first 2 passes were interceptions, and then they put the ball on the ground a couple times. Those are things that they cannot afford to do against a team like Springdale, because as formidable as Red Bank Valley is at times, Springdale is going to bring a different dimension. They're going to have it's going to be a much better team going up against the Wolves. So they can't afford to make those kind of mistakes that they can make against lesser teams. Basically, they have to play I guess I could say they have to play a perfect game. And then obviously that's added pressure for those players, but there is no margin for error against a team like Springdale. And I think you're going to see a little bit of a more balanced team this year. West Shamokin last year was, let's be blunt, bad at passing the ball. I think they only attempted 26 passes last year, and they only completed 4 passes last year. But now they have a full-time starter at sophomore Alex Laszlo. Former quarterback Brady Cornman has moved to wide receiver, and he seems to love it out there. He's 6'3", 170 pounds, big target for Laszlo to throw to. He caught a big touchdown pass, and you can just throw kind of a fade to him in the corner of the end zone. Laszlo threw a touchdown pass to him last week in their scrimmage against Red Bank Valley. So that's another weapon they have on the outside there. They're switching to a wing T. They're trying to mix things up a little bit on offense. So I think anything can happen. This game is at West Shamokin. The swamp, as people refer to it, has just been dug up, and they put a new drainage system in there. So that's supposedly supposed to help the water drain out of that big mud bog a little bit better. Hopefully the sod has rooted a little bit so that they don't tear it up in the first game. But I think there's going to be a lot of people at this game to see how the team can react in single A, what the team's going to look like, what the attitude is, what the coach's outlook is, or the the disposition of the coaches and going into it. Obviously, you got to think that West Shamokin is a big underdog going into this, and rightfully so, because you look at the reputation for West Shamokin, you look at the reputation for Springdale. It speaks for itself. However, I think that in week 1, I think most teams are good teams are most susceptible to lose to underdog teams, because you're not fully in mid-season form. You're not. A lot of teams aren't firing on all cylinders yet, and if you have an underdog team that goes in at home with a lot of momentum and a lot of energy, and having this attitude where this is our opening game at home in a new conference, in a new classification, against a team that is allegedly supposed to come in here into our house and win, and we're not going to let that happen. Sometimes that alone can keep you in the game. Now, I'm not saying it can necessarily win you the game, but I think sometimes it can keep you in the game. So I'm not predicting I'm not going to say that I'm predicting one way or the other, because week 1 it's really hard to gauge these kind of things. But I do think that they do have a shot, and there is a chance, but it's going to take almost the perfect game, and they're going to have to be more than one-dimensional. They are going to have to throw the ball a little bit, I think, and I think they're getting better at that. They set up a lot of swing passes last week, I saw, and that was pretty impressive that they were converting on those things that they weren't really good at last year, that they were converting on. The defense looked good to start, and then they looked like they kind of faded out, getting pressure. That's going to be a big test for this team, because they have a lot of players playing on both sides and special teams. It's going to be endurance, and maybe that's going to show up in the fourth quarter if they're still in the game. Perhaps you're going to see signs of fatigue, because you're going to have players like Zach Horner playing middle linebacker and running the ball 10 times on a drive before that. How is the endurance going to keep up for a team like this? It doesn't necessarily have the big numbers that other schools have, and that's part of the reason that they had to move down to single A, and they're going to be in single A for another 2 years at least. Now, when they reclassify the teams in 2 years, there's a possibility they could be catapulted back up into double A. If that's the case, and I was West Shamokin, I would be looking to move to other conferences, such as maybe the KSAC or the Heritage Conference in football, because moving back up, I think you're finally trying to regenerate some interest in this program, and to throw them back up into the conference where they lost 44 straight games, that's not gonna bring out the athletes. That's not gonna bring up the guys that say, man, I really want to play football. So I think you have to find a way to stay either in single A, or you just leave the WPIAL altogether and go into a different conference. So that'll be interesting to see. And it is opening night I want to say college football, in high school football, and there's just that energizing feeling. I know I have it. I'm going to be on the sidelines of that West Shamokin Springdale game, and there's just that electrifying feeling, and it's usually really good weather. You're not dealing with snow and hopefully not rain on that first week, so everyone's out there. You're excited because everyone right now is in first place. Everyone has a shot right now. Everyone has their expectations as high as they can get right now, because it's the beginning of the season. So you're not really saying, well, maybe we can pull one game out this year, or let's go through the schedule and see how many wins we have left. Everybody has high expectations right now. So you got to. It's just a really thrilling part of high school football or high school sports begin. I don't know if there's another feeling like the opening day of high school football. Maybe that's just the culture, but there's just really nothing like a Friday Night Lights, especially the first week. Also, we have Katanning and Freeport. Katanning moving down to AA. They were in AAA last year. New coach, new potential offensive scheme with Frank Fabian going to the spread offense. It'll be interesting to see how the kids adapt to that. Obviously, they've been working on it all off season, and they've been going through scrimmages with it. So and you have younger kids that are coming up and learning the system. So I just think that Freeport will have the edge in this one. They have such talented players. They have Brendan Lynch, who was a quarterback last year, 602 passing yards, 442 rushing yards, and then 14 total touchdowns. And then the big guy, Damon Smith, over 1,300 yards rushing last year with 19 total touchdowns, 18 of which were rushing touchdowns. And this is a team that was averaging 200 yards rushing per game. So I just think there's a lot of firepower for Freeport going into this one. I'd have to shy on the side of Freeport on this one. Like I said in the West Shamokin game, Katanning, the underdog team. I believe this game is in Katanning. Freeport maybe, and I'm not obviously not accusing the team of thinking this, but maybe looking ahead in the schedule because they are projected to make the playoffs, and maybe they're looking ahead just a little bit, and they are high schoolers, so I mean those things probably happen to a couple of them. So anything could happen there. I just think maybe that the first week of learning that or putting that full spread offense into effect into a real game situation, there could potentially be a little bit of an issue. But like I said, they're going up against a pretty good opponent week one, so I just think there's too much firepower on Freeport. Also, Fort City and Shadyside will go at it. Not sure where that game's at. I want to say that it's at Shadyside. So we'll see if the Sabres can come out strong this year. Basically, as I was alluding to earlier, just really nothing like that. I'm getting kind of chills thinking about it. And like I said, the WTYM game of the week will be Springdale at West Shamokin. I said this on the morning show today. I always kind of isn't it just kind of like that thing where you just mesh both those words together? West Shamokin. It's never West Shamokin. It's hard to put the divider in the middle there. It's West Shamokin. But we're going to kick off there. I believe coverage starts at 7:30. There's a pregame before that, and then we're going to send you out live to Jack E. Boyer Field in Laurel Valley for the Wolves to open up their season against the Springdale Dynamo. Like I said, might see a more balanced attack out of West Shamokin this year. I mean, you can't get much more unbalanced, I guess, because they ran the ball so much last year. But I think that now that you have like a full-time starter, because they brought Laszlo up in at the mid to late part of the season last year to play quarterback. Before that, Brady Corman was playing quarterback for them. You're playing a little bit of quarterback rotisserie. You move Corman out to wide receiver. He's a big frame, like I said, 6'3", 170 pounds, big target for Laszlo to throw to. But they got to protect the ball. If they're going to come out and they want to try to throw the ball a little bit, they can't be interceptions. There's absolutely nothing that is more disheartening and can absolutely kill momentum than going out there, having a nice, long drive, running the ball, you're doing pretty well, and then all of a sudden wow, let's get that out, John. You throw an interception. There's nothing more disheartening than that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out and how they respond to. There's going to be a little bit of pressure, because I think a lot of the fans as in students are thinking, well, we moved down to single A. This should be fine. We were doing poorly in double A, but we're moving out of single A. This should be fine. We'll be cruising. Not the case. Very good teams in single A. You got North Catholic, Northgate, Apollo Ridge moving down to single A with West Shamokin, going to be in the same division there. There are good teams in this. So as I said last week, it's very important for the players, coaching staff, and West Shamokin faithful to stay in positive spirits throughout, because they have such a front-heavy schedule. But towards the end, they have teams like Southside Beaver, Wilkinsburg, Leechburg's at the end there, and then I think they conclude the season with Apollo Ridge. Those three teams that preceded Apollo Ridge, Wilkinsburg, Southside Beaver, and Leechburg, I think combined they all had a win last year. Like I don't think Southside Beaver had a win last year. I think Wilkinsburg maybe had one. I'm not sure if Leesburg even had a victory last year. Those are all winnable games. Those are games that you should go in saying we have a big chance at winning. Now, if you're West Shamokin, you can't say, well, we're going to win those games without a doubt, because granted, they haven't won a game in about 4 years. So those are the winnable games. I'm not saying they're going to win. Those are the most winnable games for them. Not to say that they can't go in and take care of Northgate or North Catholic. Not to say that they can't beat Springdale this week, because I said anything can happen week one. You put the right game plan in. Game planning is everything in preparation, and then you go out there with some intensity. Who knows what could happen there. So it's opening night, and it's going to happen, and we're going to kick it off at 7:30. Right here on AM 1380 WTYM, and you can listen on WTYMradio.com, and we're going to rebroadcast the game in case you missed something, or if you're a player and you want to listen to yourself, you want to listen to your own game, you can listen to it the next day at noon. So we're going to be doing that all week, or not all week, but all through football season, so it's going to be a great season. All right, I'm going to take my first break. When I come back, I'm going to see if my guests are here yet. Like I said, I'm a victim of the fall sports practice schedule, so you never know when they could be here. I think they just got, oh, I see them coming in. We're in good luck. We're good. So when I come back, I'm going to have West Shamokin golfer Anthony Rocco in the studio to talk a little bit about the West Shamokin golf program. So stick around. You're listening and watching the Sports Zone on AM 1380 WTYM and Family Life TV, brought to you in part by Walker Motor Company in downtown Katanning. GMC, we are professional grade. We'll be right back after this.
The Katanning Paper, your source for local news, sports, and information in Armstrong County. Print weekdays and online always at www.katanningpaper.com. Available at McDonald's.
Reisman Body Shop in Spaces Corners is a family-owned and operated collision repair center. The Reisman family has been in business for 35 years and has a staff of 11 ICAR and ASE certified technicians. Reisman Body Shop has earned the Good Housekeeping promise and is certified first. All work is done in a new VOC downdraft baked booth with computerized paint matching for a new factory finish. They also offer frame straightening. All work is guaranteed, free estimates, and all major credit cards are accepted at Reisman Auto Body Shop in Spaces Corners.
With a sense of pride in our community, we present the first ever WTYM Country Jam. Saturday, September 8th from noon to 7. The best in local bands and country entertainment, including Cherie White.
Every brick, every board, every cinnamon roll blown away.
And local sensation 12-year-old country boy Isaac Cole.
Faster than a teardrop. Love can make the pain stop.
The 2010 male vocalist of the year, Tommy Brandt.
I had it my way. The Cowboys would play all year round. The high price of gas had come falling down. We could still see Elvis on the stage if I had it my way.
Fiddler Billy Rich. The WTYM Country Jam, Saturday, September 8th from 12 noon to 7 p.m. at the WTYM Tower in North Buffalo Township. In West Katanning, take the Pony Farm Road and watch for signs. Avoid a $2 parking charge and take the shuttle from the Franklin Village Shopping Center that will run every half hour to the WTYM Country Jam, featuring special guest Joanne Cash, the sister of legendary Johnny Cash.
Let's hold on to a little bit of yesterday.
13 groups, 7 hours. Make plans to be there. The WTYM Country Jam, brought to you in part by White's Paving, Sherry White, Notary Public, and Ray Bucks LLC. Saturday, September the 8th, 12 noon to 7 p.m., no admission charge. Be there.
There's nothing better than a good old-fashioned barbecue, but having a menu that satisfies everyone isn't always easy. Foodland is the place to shop for all your picnic needs. They have a great selection of fresh steaks, hot dogs, chicken, and hamburgers. Stop by their deli for some great potato and pasta salad. The bakery has fresh baked buns and breads. If you want to make the family happy without wasting precious hours of your day at every store in town, visit Foodland at Hilltop Plaza. Foodland, with something to satisfy everyone, how can you go wrong?
Martini, please.
Allow me.
Put it on my tab. I just made partner at the firm. I can afford it.
So what do you do?
I'm an inventor.
What did you invent? This ought to be good.
Well, I invented this. Just don't push that button. Let me show you some of my other cool inventions. Have a new idea or invention? Call 1-888-54-IDEAS for free information.
You bet your life I've seen a lot of printing places come and go in my time. But those Naroskis in Slate Lick, let's see, they came about 30 years ago, and they just keep right on a-going. Why, Darren's dad, he printed business cards and personal stationery for me a few years back, and he made me look like some big...